Hello. Off-season Will here, back again. Welcome back to the 2019 NHL Draft Recap Series. Today we're looking at the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they had themselves a weekend, I would say. On Friday night, the Tampa Bay Lightning made arguably the biggest reach in the first round by drafting Nolan Foote. Now look, they didn't have another pick until 71st overall, and it is perfectly reasonable to think that Nolan Foote would have been gone by the 71st pick overall. If you want to reunite him with his brother, fine, that's your prerogative. But he has some glaring on-ice issues for all the analytics that did paint him in a pretty favorable light. Anyone who scouts the WHL will tell you that he has a ways to go if he really wants to round out his game at an NHL level. He's going to require a lot of patience, and this was a big reach when you look at some of the names on the board. And the part that frustrates me the most is that there were players on the board who had also glaring issues on the ice, but had a much more well-rounded game and showed a lot more this season that I thought would have been worth the risk. Ryan Suzuki, Bobby Brink, even Arthur Kaliev would have probably been a pick I take for the Tampa Bay Lightning here. But Nolan Foote is not a bad hockey player. He's got a great shot on him. He was hurt for a bit of this year, but the skating certainly needs to come a ways. And this is a big risk that the Tampa Bay Lightning took here, and I'm not sure it was 100% necessary. At 71, they took Hugo Alnefelt though, who's a goaltender from Sweden, and I did find him impressive at the under-18s. I'm not really going to complain with that many goaltending picks, and he does stop pucks at a decent rate. Again, not a player I probably would have taken in this range, but if you like him, you like him. But at 89, the Tampa Bay Lightning took Maxim Chaykovich, who I think had no business being available here. I personally had him ranked higher than Nolan Foote this season. He's got a great shot, he played on an absolutely terrible team, but did just about everything he could to keep the team afloat on his own. He's a great scoring winger, and I would not be surprised to see him turn into an NHL contributor one day. At 120th, Tampa took Max Crozier, who was a defenseman who played with Ryan Johnson a lot when I watched Sioux Falls play this year. He's a D+1 USHL defender, and he racks up a ton of penalty minutes, but he is underrated offensively. We'll see where he goes. His offensive game is solid. He played a good possession game with a really good defense partner in Ryan Johnson, but I'm not really sure this profile really lends itself to being drafted this high, but I have been wrong before, and we'll see where it takes him. The Lightning then didn't have a pick until 182nd, and took a player who completely flew under my radar all year in Quinn Schmiemann. Schmiemann played with Kamloops, and I honestly didn't even have him on my sheet, but when I added him, he stuck out really nicely. This is a good analytics pick for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I think it could take him a ways. He does need to put in some more work defensively to keep those goal rates against down, but I do think all things put together, he does show pretty well on paper, and I'm interested to see where this goes. And speaking of good on paper, they went out and got Mikhail Shalikin in the 7th round, and oh my goodness, this is so much fun. I'm glad someone took a swing on him. All he did this year was score goals. He set MHL goal scoring records on a team that didn't score a whole lot of goals. Granted, he's 6'4", really should be playing in a better league, didn't show all that well in the VHL, and he pretty much relies on his shot. But he does have underrated skill, he can skate decently well, and he is an interesting project pick for Tampa Bay. You cannot argue with guys who score goals like he does, and I'm really curious to see if he breaks his way into the KHL this year and starts scoring some goals there. Then with their last pick in the draft, the Tampa Bay Lightning took not Cade Weber, but McCade Webster. And frankly, I didn't see a whole lot out of McCade Webster this year. I didn't catch any Green Bay Gamblers games, but on paper this looks like a fine pick, as you can wait and see what happens. You can't really kick up too much dust about the 213th pick overall, and if Tampa sees a player, they see a player, so we'll see what happens. So if you've watched any scouting reports or any of the videos prior to this one, you'll understand how the rating system works. The number indicates the overall level of potential I see in the draft crop, and the letter indicates the likelihood of reaching that potential. And with the Tampa Bay Lightning, they did take some big swings on players that look good on paper, but it is an extremely risky draft that they took, so I have to give them a 2F here. I think Nolan Foote, if his skating can come a step and then a step after that, you could have a first-round pick-worthy player here. But when you look at who was on the board, there were players with issues that were not as glaring that were available that fell past the first round. Foote is a big risk. Chaykovich is a good bet. I've liked flashes of what I've seen in Alnefelt. Mikhail Shalikin is plenty of fun, and Quinn Schmiemann certainly sticks out on paper in some ways. So it'll be interesting to see where we end up with this draft crop, but I think it's just a tremendously risky group that the Tampa Bay Lightning picked this year. So that's it for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Our next subjects will be the Carolina Hurricanes. If you liked the video, you can click all the buttons you see below me so you never miss another one. If you really liked it, you could support us on Patreon, where you get access to input on players I should track, or private chat rooms, or spreadsheets for drafted and undrafted prospects, and plenty of other stuff. stuff, or you could pick up some merchandise from the Scouchwear shop. All the links are in the description below. So that's all, and I hope you join me when we break down the Carolina Hurricanes.